Howdy, fellow movie watchers, and welcome back to another edition of the Wisco Movie Watchers Podcast, brought to you by PTV Creative, where you can get some ridiculous movie recommendations or just straight commentary. Here, as always, we are your hosts, Evan Davies, and our favorite Oscar expert, Dylan Davies, because we're going back into his wheelhouse once again. We're covering the Oscars as we did a couple weeks ago on the show for our viewers and listeners. Last time we covered the movies of 1994 to 1999. We're all building towards the big ceremony that's going to happen early March. So we have a nice even 25 years. Today, on this show, it's Oscars 1999 to 2003, movies released in this time. Apparently there's a lot of controversy to talk about. I found some other controversies that just are ridiculous and really look like ugly America, so we're going to have some fun here.
Okay, sure.
We'll begin in 1999 to set the scene. Go ahead.
Just 1 second. I just had a follow-up from last episode.
Yep.
So just on the Oscar voting process.
Yes, okay, thank you for clarifying this before we get going.
So just for this process, it's each person belongs to one of 17 branches. And each branch nominates for its own category. So you have editors for the editing categories, you have Oscar actors in the acting categories, costumers in the costume design, stuff like that.
Okay.
They all nominate for their own category.
Sure.
And then everyone gets to nominate for Best Picture. And then for the final voting of the winners, all branches get to vote for everything.
So nominees are from the branches, winners, everyone gets to vote.
Yes.
That's okay. It's a choice.
And then some some members complain that 10 nominees for Best Picture would kind of like dilute the prestige, I guess, of being a Best Picture nominee when there's only 5.
Interesting.
So the Academy made it a flexible thing, so it could have anywhere from 5 to 10 nominations. Everyone gets a ballot and ranks their top choices for Best Picture. According to the new rules, a film has to get 5% of first place votes to qualify.
Okay.
To get a Best Picture nomination.
Repeat that for me again, I'm sorry.
Okay. So, everyone gets a ballot and they rank their top choices for Best Picture.
Okay.
And according to the new rules, a film has to get at least 5% of the top choice of those ballots to get a nomination for Best Picture.
Okay, so they need a certain threshold for first place, but then it's still ranked choice voting besides that.
Yes.
Okay, that's at least somewhat fucking logical.
Yeah. That made a lot more sense to me because I was like, okay, at least that explains the flexibility aspect, because there are years where there's 8, and then some years where there's 9, and then some years where there's 10.
Yeah.
So that makes sense finally, where it's like, okay, finally I got some clarification on that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I followed up on was the whole Harvey Weinstein and Miramax aspect of it, the meddling. So this is from Oscar Wars. It's a book I read a couple months ago. It's by Michael Schumann. So this is what he says. I'll just read it quote for quote. Miramax left no vote unturned, calling Academy members to check they'd receive VHS copies of a film, setting up special screenings, including in a retirement home for Academy members,
Jesus
and wheeling out their talent out at lunches, panels, and parties to schmooze with voters. Things reached a head when word spread that Weinstein was secretly bad-mouthing Saving Private Ryan to journalists, trying to plant the idea that the film trailed off after the first 25 minutes. This kind of negative campaigning was a huge no-no in the Oscars race. Every studio now felt that they needed to run a Miramax-style campaign. So now everyone in Hollywood was trying to out-campaign each other and hiring a battalion of campaign strategists.
Which is
So
something
they
we
pretty much,
still kind of see today.
yeah, so they pretty much just kind of turned it into a political campaign almost,
Dude,
where they're not afraid to get ugly.
even when he's not doing... Beyond the obvious is the real reason that he's an evil piece of shit. Even when it comes to art, he has to fuck that up for everybody.
Yeah.
What a piece of trash.
He was, like, he's been very, very honest about the fact that he was, like, obsessed with the fact that he wanted to win Oscars.
Which is so sad because I'm looking through a lot of movies that are very popular and very good over this 5-year period. A ton of them are Miramax. He's got Tarantino in his wheelhouse. He's got Mendes in his wheelhouse. He's got a lot of people in his wheelhouse that are Oscar quality people. Eventually you're going to break through and you're going to get one.
I know. He's an idiot. He's just, he can realize talent but not be talented himself.
Yeah, it's kind of a Hollywood thing in its finest.
Yeah, that's very true.
And on that wonderful note, we'll move into 1999.
Yep.
Now, set the scene for you. 1999, a lot of the popular movies of the time. Fight Club. The Matrix completely revolutionizes how we see film in a lot of ways, including the visual effects that we see commonplace now, which also includes Star Wars The Phantom Menace in that, which is the biggest box office to possibly have the biggest return of viewers whatsoever in this time. However, we get great movies like Toy Story 2, Iron Giant comes out in this one. One of your personal favorites, The Mummy, is a summertime favorite during this time frame. And then we also get some revolutionary stuff such as the Blair Witch Project, and then things that just capture the imagination or the zeitgeist at the time, like Sixth Sense. We also see the final Stanley Kubrick movie in Eyes Wide Shut. So it's a very interesting time in Hollywood because you're starting to see a lot of really weird different stuff all pop up in a mainstream fashion in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And just a couple things about couple tidbits about the actual ceremony itself. I just wrote down a couple. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park.
Yep.
They came dressed as Gwyneth Paltrow and J-Lo, dressed as their famous dresses, the pink and green dresses that they became famous for wearing.
It's the most important red carpet moment in Oscars history. Is those two just being a bunch of pricks.
It is a glorious picture when you see it. It's so funny.
I respect it to no end. It's genius on their part. But they're genius. That's what they do. You know?
And then apparently all the major awards were pretty much a foregone conclusion. The only close race apparently was Best Actor between Kevin Spacey and Denzel for The Hurricane. So
I was gonna say this is the period where Denzel goes from whoa, he's a star to anything Denzel touches in this period is gold. Like 99 to 2003, I'm looking at the movies he's in, and even if they're not nominated for stuff, you still go, God damn it, Denzel Washington's good. You just you have to.
I mean,
you have to be impressed.
He's been good since the mid '80s, yeah.
Yeah, but it's this period where he also starts getting a few more popular movies that are being taken seriously a little bit more by the general public. You know, Remember the Titans is in here, which is obviously a huge fan favorite. John Q is in here. Training Day, we're going to talk about in a little bit. This is the time frame in which Denzel Washington goes from, oh, he's a movie star too. That's a household name that everyone needs to know because he's great. At least in my opinion, watching these. I do have a few minor tweaks to
the technical categories.
Some of the technical categories and some of the things I thought were just maybe not egregious, but I thought deserved a little bit more recognition. I'll start with costume design. That's one by Topsy Turvy, which is, again,
Sure.
classic Oscars period piece about a musical. It's very different. I'm not taking that away from the movie. Sleepy Hollow is also nominated. I would have gone with Sleepy Hollow as opposed to Topsy Turvy. I went and watched some footage of Topsy Turvy before doing this. All due respect, because the
Mhm.
costuming is great in Topsy Turvy. I'm not shitting on the costuming whatsoever.
There.
I just
Yeah.
think one of the things that costumes never get enough credit for in some of these categories is showing the character depth that can be brought just by costuming. And I think the character depth that's given by even costuming in Sleepy Hollow gives the nod for me over Topsy Turvy. Does that make sense? Like when you like they perfectly
Sure.
encapsulate Ichabod Crane, they perfectly encapsulate Katrina, which is played by Christina Ricci. Miranda Richardson's character, every costume she's in just screams her
Mhm.
character, and then Christopher Walken as the Headless Horseman is a fucking vibe in a costume. Um,
Yeah.
so I just think they do a really good job portraying character with their costumes and being grand, big period pieces. Whereas Topsy Turvy does a little bit more of a, hey, these costumes are for show, but they don't necessarily like
Yeah.
tell a lot of
I
character work.
had Sleepy Hollow won over Topsy Turvy, I'd have no problem with it.
Yeah,
But I also have no problem with Topsy Turvy winning because it is that's a really like gorgeous movie to look at. I don't
yes,
love it that much just to watch as a movie, but there's a lot of like cool art to it.
I do have Sleepy Hollow, but understand Topsy Turvy. That's not one where I'm like pitch.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
not pitchforks. This is bullshit. Another one, I think maybe not entirely. I don't think it deserves to win, but just for the innovations it's doing in changing how movies on a wide scale are presented, I think a nomination for Blair Witch Project for cinematography might be worthwhile because it totally sets the vibe of the
Sure.
film. It's not necessarily that I think it's
I
the greatest cinematography of all time. I don't think that at all. But I
no.
think the way it's
Yeah.
presented through cinematography really sets up the tone of that movie to make it a cultural icon at the time.
Yeah. I understand that, but you would never get the cinematographers in the Academy
To do
to
that.
vote for that
Yeah.
because that movie is like such a shoestring budget that like there's a reason that it looks the way it does.
Yes.
So, but I understand it. It is very significant too. Yeah.
And then the other one that goes a little bit away from the technical categories, adapted screenplay. Fight Club doesn't even get a nomination, and that's ridiculous.
I actually went a different route with adapted screenplay. I said I would have picked Election to
Okay.
win over the Cider House Rules.
Okay.
Um, I actually like the Cider House Rules more than most people. It seems a lot of people who just view that as like Miramax Oscar bait movie, really,
It seems to
because
do.
it,
It
it
seems to
is
be what they do at the time.
yeah, it is like very very saccharine, like sentimentality to the max,
Okay.
and it's I enjoy it, but um, I understand why people don't enjoy it all that much. But Election, I just feel the writing in there is so good, and there's like four different narrations, and all of them are unreliable, so it's just so much fun.
Yeah. It's certainly interesting. I just to see adapted screenplay with no Fight Club in it is
Uh huh.
ridiculous.
Sure.
I mean, granted, the status of that movie that's far more of a cult classic than I even realized. Where it barely made it made its money back, but it didn't really create a big hit. Um,
Yeah.
Fincher says, David Fincher, director, says that part of the reason Fight Club failed was the marketing is far more about like the Fight Club aspect of it, which isn't really that big of a movie part. It doesn't play that big of a
Yeah.
part in the movie. But he said, "quote It's a little too WWF," which is so crazy to talk about the zeitgeist of the time because that was the height of popularity for the WWF was 98, 99 when Fight Club is coming out. So, or at least during that time period. So it's interesting to hear him say something like that.
Yeah.
But Fight Club as an adapted screenplay, that is a complete mind melding, beautiful film to watch when you're just like, holy shit, didn't see that one coming. It and to not even get a nomination. I don't know if it deserves to win, because 99 is one of those years that I was looking at all the movies nominated and I went, I have very little knowledge on this. I'm going to speak on what I'm knowledgeable about, and that's it.
Well, 99 is one of the movie years that people widely consider one of the best movie years in film history.
I mean, there's a lot of heavy hitters here for things that are popular that I like.
Yeah, there's like a lot of movies that people love in 99. So, yeah, and Fight Club just pretty much just got shut out. I don't think they got a single nomination.
No, they did, which I think is a travesty.
Yeah.
But nonetheless.
Was that it for your technical stuff?
That was it for me. To take us to yours.
I only had a couple more. I had score. I would have picked The Phantom Menace over The Red Violin.
I didn't even look at score, but yes.
I have never seen The Red Violin, and that's not to say, like, obviously I can't say with authority, but The Phantom Menace, you can say whatever you want about that movie, but that score is iconic. Everyone knows it.
Are we talking Duel of the Fates?
Yeah.
Duel of the Fates is one of the best pieces of movie music ever made. Like, Duel of the Fates immediately captures the mind, the imagination, the attention span, the heart of a listener. Where you can hate Star Wars, but you can't hate Duel of the Fates.
Yeah,
you just can't.
Exactly. And then I said I actually think Phantom Menace also deserved a nomination for art direction.
I agree with that. I didn't go into that one as much. Oddly enough, the one I started defending in technical categories was Attack of the Clones, a little bit further down the road, but that's a different story.
Oh God!
It's for technical categories. It has nothing to do with writing or anything like that. It's only for technical categories, because that movie is bad.
Right.
It's bad. It's bad at its job. So I'm not defending the quality of the film in terms of story, acting, writing, anything like that. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But I mean, do you have any beef with any of the big 5 or 6 that we generally talk about?
So the big 6, you got Sam Mendes for director, American Beauty; Kevin Spacey, actor, American Beauty; actress, Hilary Swank, Boys Don't Cry; best supporting actor, Michael Caine, The Cider House Rules; and best supporting actress, Angelina Jolie for Girl Interrupted. I had one change there. Do you have any changes?
No, I don't know any of those films enough to really take anything
Okay.
out.
The
movies I know of 99 are not. We're not talking big performances here, you know.
I wanted to change the Kevin Spacey one, but I do admit, like, Kevin Spacey is a great actor. Like,
again, we covered it last week. In terms of just looking at the quality for the sake of these shows, you have to remove the actor from the art, because he's a shit human being. But in terms of when we didn't know that and he's being awarded these things, he's a phenomenal actor. So
exactly, yeah. I only changed the best supporting actor. I would have went Michael Clark Duncan for The Green Mile.
I thought about that
over Michael Caine. Michael Caine, this was actually his second win. He also won Best Supporting Actor for Hannah and Her Sisters in '86, I want to say.
Okay.
That's the one he couldn't go to the Oscars for because he was filming Jaws 4. Great movie. Yeah. And then also, it should be noted that Sam Mendes won Best Director on his first ever full-length feature.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes, it is.
There's a reason it's a big deal when he directs something.
Yeah, he was kind of like, I don't say prodigy, but like, he had a lot of help from Steven Spielberg when he came into the industry.
Gotcha.
Okay, so for Best Picture, the actual nominees, you have the winner, American Beauty. Other nominees, The Cider House Rules, The Insider, The Green Mile, The Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense got a Best Picture nom?
Yep. What have you seen? What have you not seen?
I've watched the majority of the Green Mile.
Okay.
It's one of those growing up in our time frame. You always find pieces of it on cable, you know. So
Yeah.
so I've seen plenty of that, which is why the only one I thought about toying with was Michael Clark Duncan is so good in the Green Mile, but I just couldn't speak to
Yeah.
the other performances. So I was like, I can't, in good faith, change a winner. I can give a nomination and not know as
Sure.
much, but I can't change a winner without knowing at least some of the other things in the categories. Uh, Other than that, sadly, Sixth Sense. You know enough clips. You've seen it. That's the second most amount of film I've seen of the Big Five that get nominated.
Hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, okay.
Oh, oh, real quick, just to jump back to the Big Five or Big Six, I forgot to mention a couple shout outs I wanted to give.
Yeah.
Um, Ron Livingston for Best Actor in Office Space.
Interesting.
Fantastic. And then also Reese Witherspoon for Best Supporting Actress for Election. And then also Edward Norton for Fight Club.
Fair.
Couple
All are
shout
great.
outs.
All are great.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting batch. You are correct that the quality of 99 is insane.
Yeah.
Do you have any beef with Best Picture?
I own I actually changed my winner and I made one change in nominee. So I took out the Cider House rules and I put in Being John Malkovich, which is this really, really weird. Honestly, it's just weird. That's like the perfect word to describe it. It's
Okay.
just weird. But it's really fun. And then I changed my winner from American Beauty to The Sixth Sense. I know The Sixth
Wow.
Sense. It's not that much of a rewatchable movie,
It is
but
not.
the first time when you first watch it,
And you have no
it's a great
spoilers.
movie.
And you have no spoilers.
Yes,
It's a big thing. And I
yes,
think that inherently if the big twist ending is what the whole thing is about and you know the big twist ending and there's not a
yeah,
watchability factor to it, it really hurts the film's quality because
yes,
you can't go in and go, I shouldn't say film's quality, but you should be able to go watch a great film and still think it's a great film after you watch it
yeah.
the second time from the first
And
time.
somehow I avoided it, the spoiler.
Yeah, I have no idea
So
how because everybody and their mother fucking talked about that goddamn
yeah,
twist.
I think I saw it when I was first, probably like I don't know, 11, 12 maybe, and
Okay.
somehow I just avoided it. Um. Oh, also I wanted to mention that I have my list of Best Picture winners that I've seen. Everything moving forward, I've seen.
Okay.
Um, so I can give my ratings of all the Best Picture nominees.
Fair
So
enough.
American Beauty, I gave a 6.5. Cider House Rules, I gave a 6. 6 being like middle of the road. That's perfectly average.
Okay.
What I describe a 6 as is it's a film.
That's sad for a lot of movies to in your best picture category to be around
Oh,
the average mark.
there's a lot of them. Um,
It's really sad.
Green Mile, yeah, Green Mile, The Insider, and The Sixth Sense, I all gave 7.5.
Okay.
So they're about comparable to each other, I would say. But on a first time viewing, I think The Sixth Sense really, really puts it above. But yeah, on rewatch, I mean that movie's like a 5 on rewatch.
Yeah, you got to protect the twist if you want that movie to be
Yeah.
impactful. But nonetheless, good stuff. What is your favorite what we as we did last time, what's your favorite movie from 1999?
I think I would probably say probably The Green Mile.
Okay. Very different
Yeah.
from what I'm about to tell you, so
No, I take that back. The Mummy.
you do love The Mummy.
I
You
can rewatch The Mummy all day.
that was one of your favorites that has stuck as one of your
Yeah.
favorites. You really enjoy The Mummy. I will give a few here. There's this weird mesh period where there's a lot of mood watching for me. Overall, my definite favorite from '99 is Sleepy Hollow. That's just
Sure.
Tim Burton with a budget, baby, and that's all. Yeah. That's what I love.
It's a fun movie too.
It's really fun, and it's an easy watch. It's just under the 2 hour mark. It moves quick. There's not a lot of fat on that movie.
Mm-hmm.
However, I will say, Galaxy Quest is up there for me. I love Galaxy Quest.
Sure.
Certainly a guilty pleasure that I loved as a child, not knowing it wasn't that good. I do adore Wild Wild West. That was a huge movie for the two of us growing up. I adore Wild Wild West. It's still hilarious to think Will Smith took Wild Wild West and turned down The Matrix so he could do Wild Wild West. It's one of those that you're like, ooh. And frankly, all due respect to Keanu Reeves, I think that franchise is probably a lot better overall if Will Smith is involved in it, because Will Smith is a better producer and won't allow his shit to suck.
I think it should also be noted, I think both of us don't like the Matrix as much as other people our age.
That's very true. We don't understand it as much. I went back and watched it, and I was like, okay, I get why it was important at the time.
Exactly.
But it's one of those that I feel it's a kind of a Sixth Sense kind of thing, in which if you watch it first run as it's coming out, it will blow your fucking mind.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch it, because, you know, when Matrix came out, I was just about to turn 7. It's not as if this was a movie that I was going to go to the theater to watch. So I didn't watch The Matrix until maybe, I don't even know, maybe a couple years ago. And I watched it, I was like, it's a good action movie. But that's as far as I went. I didn't think it was like...
Yeah.
And then I will also send a special shout out, and I'm still tracking down the cards from it. Gotta give some love to Pokemon the first movie. That is the crowning... That is the crowning of this becoming the biggest media franchise on the planet. Part of that is that first movie, even though the first movie is not good. It's part of the phenomenon.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I enjoy it, and I love going back and watching the remake that Netflix did, where they did almost a shot-for-shot remake. They just updated the animation of it. It's just, I remember the phenomenon. It was part of... It was...
Yeah.
It was like... In a weird way, Pokemon was like mini Beatles mania. It was just like you could not escape Pokemon at the time, and that's why I had to mention it, because like in a weird way, except for Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, you could say in terms of societal impact, Pokemon the first movie has a chance to be the biggest impactor of '99. Not that it deserves that because of quality, but because of the overall global phenomenon of it. Pokemon's got an argument, and that's insane to think about. Plus, you still got to go track down those first movie cards. I'm so pissed that I let those ones go. I'm gonna be getting those soon. So they're not overly expensive right now, but it's far more expensive when you went to the theater and like, here's your things. Went to that movie for someone's 7th birthday party. Or 8th birthday party.
One final note on 99. American Beauty was the first non-period piece, non-historical epic to win since 91, since Sons of the Lambs won.
Yeah, it's very noticeable that...
So 8 years.
Those period pieces will get you in the Oscar category.
Yep.
Now, before we go to 2000s, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, folks. The year 2000. I hear you guys are really liking PT Creative's content. And you know what? You should, because it's pretty rad. You may even want to support the channel even more. Well, there's a way you can do it and reward yourself. And that's by going to our Etsy shop. Head on over to PTE Creative's Etsy shop, and you can find all kinds of cool merch like you see on screen. You may be watching some of our Pokemon-themed content and going, I'd love some merch there. You can do that. You can even get our custom Fakemon stickers right there, or stickers of existing Pokemon, t-shirts, or mystery packs. But you may be saying, I don't know if Pokemon's maybe my vibe. You know what? That's fine, because we have all kinds of fun, snarky millennial content and sports-related things over at the Etsy shop as well. You maybe got some big bench warmer energy that you just got to spread with the world. Or maybe you just need to tell people that you hope both teams are having fun as they're playing, because it's just all about vibes to you. and you hate to see it. You'd hate to see it if you didn't get your merch. You can go get that merch right here, right now. Head on over to Etsy. Go to etsy.com/shop/PTE Creative and go get yourself some awesome merch and go support a local content creator in this community we call the internet. Hope y'all see some great merch coming soon from Etsy. Go to PT Creative on Etsy and get yourself some great merch. No! Alrighty, folks, and we're back. We're covering the year 2000 to set the scene for you. Gladiator sweeps across the globe as one of the most popular movies with high quality. It's one of those that balances itself really well. High quality, but also high entertainment and popularity as well. You have Christopher Nolan come a little bit into the scene with Memento. Guy Ritchie comes to the scene with Snatch. Requiem for a Dream completely destroys people's entire hearts and minds. But then you have a lot of really cool favorites. X-Men first appears in 2000, which obviously we're still seeing the impact of that franchise as the biggest movie of the year is partially due to all the way back in that one. American Psycho is also running amok with a great horror comedy that I absolutely adore. But then you have great movies like Castaway, Aaron Brockovich, and then you also have these bigger movies like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon coming over from overseas that are really setting the scene. Another one that I always found interesting is we talked about this in 1998 where Grease was re-released and made like $28 million. The Exorcist director's cut is released and it makes literally just shy of $40 million.
Wow, yeah.
In 2000, the director's cut is released in theaters and makes almost $40 million, like $39.67 million. Wildly impressive. And then to also set the scene of where we are, Scary Movie first appears in this year, as does the cinematic masterpiece known as Dude, Where's My Car? So,
yes.
I do not think that movie's good at all, but it really captures the time period.
For sure, yeah.
I have just a few. This one I have barely any changes whatsoever, just looking for some noms, almost. I have one change for art direction. I just got to double check who wins art direction that one, so I'm speaking correctly. Oh boy, art direction.
You can just talk. I can look it up.
Well, art direction is won by Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which
okay. Don't forget, I got my book right here.
You do. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is obviously beautiful. And it has a period piece nod, but it's also so different for an American audience to watch. However, I don't think the art direction is really what speaks there. I think it's far more the visual effects and the choreography. It's not necessarily the art direction that does it. Nominated, which I think should have won because if it doesn't work, the movie doesn't work, is How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the live action one. If that art direction doesn't work, that movie is dead on arrival. And that movie is carried by one man's performance and an enormous art direction that just makes you believe and buy in.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be my one change is art direction. I think The Grinch wins over Crouching Tiger. Also, Gladiator is nominated, and I think I could make the argument Gladiator has a better art direction than Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But I didn't go full on that one. And then, not looking for a win, but original score, I would have thrown X-Men a nomination for their title theme, because that's a great title score. So, I would have thrown him a nom. I wouldn't have thrown him a change and a win, but
okay,
it's a great theme.
I actually only have one little note. I would have put a nomination for In the Mood for Love, which is a Chinese film, for cinematography. That's the only thing I would put in there. That's the only little change I had. Other than that, I actually think the 2000s pretty much nails it. Couple things I wrote down about that ceremony itself. Steven Soderbergh was nominated twice this year for Best Director.
I did notice
Aaron Brockovich and Traffic. That's only happened once before. And then this is a first in 51 years that the best Best Picture winner didn't also pick up either a Best Director win or a Best Screenplay award. So that's like, I didn't realize there was that big of a gap in between that.
You knew there'd be a gap, but to be that big of a gap is quite impressive.
Yeah, and then apparently supporting actress was a big shock, I guess, because everyone expected Kate Hudson to win for Almost Famous,
which she's great in.
Which it would have been a better story because it would have mirrored her mom, Goldie Hawn, winning.
Yeah.
Because Goldie Hawn won for Cactus Flower, which was like, it wasn't her first movie, but it was like her first big breakout role.
It's her coming out party as an actress kind of thing.
Yeah, and then Kate Hudson's in Almost Famous. That's exactly that's what she is in that.
Yeah.
Like, she had done like minor roles, but not anything big.
Yeah. I love Kate Hudson.
It would have been.
I love Kate Hudson.
It would have been a cool, like, little. Yeah, it would have been a cool little mirroring moment in history.
Okay. Who wins our Big Six here?
So, Big Six. Director, Steven Soderbergh, Traffic. Actor, Russell Crowe, Gladiator.
Fair.
Actress, Julia Roberts, Erin Brockovich.
Fair.
Supporting actor, Benicio del Toro, Traffic.
Can't speak on that one.
And supporting actress, Marcia Gay Harden for Pollock.
Can't speak on that one. But
so
both Best Actor and Best Actress are so abundantly clear that it's like, yeah, that's them. They deserve it.
Yeah. Pollock is, I think, the only film in this entire thing we're going to do in this entire 30-year gap that I have not seen. So I cannot speak on Best Supporting Actress, whether or not she deserved it over at Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson's great in Almost Famous. She's great in that movie.
I'm assuming Marcia Gay Harden is great in Pollock because she's usually great in everything she's in.
She's pretty fucking talented, yes.
Yeah. I only had one change here. Did you have any changes?
No changes on the Big Six. 0.
Okay. I changed director from Steven Soderbergh to Ang Lee for Crouching Tiger.
I could understand that one. However, for the bit, I almost wish you would have said, I'm changing it from Steven Soderbergh to Steven Soderbergh. It would have been funny to get that. But no, I can understand that for Ang Lee for Crouching Tiger. That's a completely different film.
Yeah, and then just a couple shout-outs I wanted to give. Billy Crudup in Almost Famous. He's great. Jim Carrey in The Grinch.
He deserves a lot of credit for that performance.
I think that performance is like incredibly underrated. Like, I don't get how he doesn't get more credit for that movie.
Because it's a kid's movie, and there is a subsection of people that find that movie really off-putting because of all the physical makeup and things that they have people in.
I guess, sure.
Now, granted, that is easily one of my favorite movies of that era. I was obsessed with that movie. I mean, shit, where is it? So, very random. Picture from our youth, from our childhood, right? The back of it?
Yeah.
That was the card I made for myself in 3rd grade where you had to use your picture to make something about your identity. I put the Grinch on the fucking thing. Like, to show how much I loved that movie at the time.
Hey, just because I'm curious, can you tell what shirt I'm wearing in that?
Yeah, you'll take a wild guess. It's green and gold, and it's clearly a receiver number. Take your pick, because I know who it is, obviously.
I'm guessing it's either Freeman or Donald Driver.
It's 1,000% Antonio Freeman. Which I forgot to tell you, when we just went to Lambeau, they did Alumni Day, and so they brought out a bunch of guys from all the different last couple decades, and it went 60s onward, and naturally, I think the biggest pop was for Antonio Freeman in the 90s. They brought Antonio out, and everyone lost their fucking minds. Like, it's our boy!
Yeah, so but he's the best.
It was him and Leroy Butler got the biggest cheers. So it was interesting and fun to see. I love having that. I don't know what it is. It's like one of the few sentimental things I always keep around is that picture. of where we came from in the neighborhood, 'cause it's just like all of us together.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So, as I wear my Digimon T-shirt, so big deal here.
Yeah.
Really into the creature stuff.
Couple more shout outs. Michelle Yeoh in Crouching Tiger.
Michelle Yeoh and everything because she's amazing.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna butcher her name here. Maggie Chung in The Mood for Love. And then Joey Pantoliano.
Pantaleone.
Yeah, for Memento.
Okay.
He's great in that. For Best Supporting Actor, those are the shout outs I got.
Okay. No changes whatsoever?
Just the Ang Lee one.
Yeah, okay.
And then for Best Picture, actual nominees, we got Gladiator as the winner, Chocolat, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Aaron Brockovich, and Traffic.
So,
and also it should be noted that there was many conspiracy theories that Miramax fought their way into the nomination for Chocolate.
So I was just about to say, I have seen the vast majority of that movie because
I enjoy that movie actually
because it was a middle-aged white lady movie of huge note because of the context of the movie. I find it really interesting that movie, first of all, the vast majority of people who watch it don't like it, which is, I don't know, I haven't watched it all the way through, but I've seen a good portion of it. But it's been so long that I can't comment and be like, oh, yeah, that movie's good or that movie's bad. But I find it really interesting that it gets a Best Picture nom, and yet it's such it's such a performance-based movie, and yet none of the performers are even nominated. So it's just like one of those, you're like, what?
Well, it didn't get nominated for much of anything. So that's the weird part.
So yeah, and that's why all of a sudden they're getting a Best Picture nom. You're like,
that's called Miramax campaigning for you.
It's just such a problem. That's why you got to. Honestly, it's not even a pub for us. It's a pub for any podcast that does stuff like this. That's why I loved AMC Movie Talk or Collider when they would get into stuff like this when we were heavily watching or listening to their stuff. You got to do this kind of stuff, and you can't always go with exactly what the Academy's going on because it's like bullshit like that where it's like campaigning. You're like, we know for a fact this movie doesn't belong. We know it doesn't belong in this.
Yeah, for my personal rankings, also, I looked for so long yesterday. I looked for like an hour because I know somewhere, unless I threw it out, which I don't know why I would have, but because I started my Oscars journey when I was in high school.
Yes.
I had somewhere a ranking. I rated all the Best Picture winners, and it was from like 2015 to 2017 where I finished all of them, and I had them rated. And I was trying to find that, and I could not find it for the life of me. And I was like, God damn it, because I wanted to compare it to what I have it rated now.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it's changed a lot.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah, but I have Gladiator as a 7, Chocolat as a 6, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This is a spoiler for what I'm about to tell you. Is an 8.5.
Wow. Okay.
Aaron Brockovich 7.5.
Great movie.
And Traffic as a 7.5 as well.
Fair. So you think Gladiator is the second worst of all of those pictures?
Yes.
Which is saying a lot because 7 still, and you're a tough evaluator, so 7 is actually really good for you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I would actually say it's because I would take out what the changes I would make for how we going into the next segment.
Yeah.
I would give Best Picture to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Okay.
I love that movie. I did not love it when I first saw it. I just rewatched it like 6 months ago, and I was amazed how much I loved it.
Okay.
And then I would take out Chocolat and put in The Mood for Love.
Okay. Fair enough. I don't think anyone could really argue some of those changes unless they're a Miramax campaigner. So You know, what are you
Yeah,
gonna do?
unless we got Harvey Weinstein listening, I don't think most people are gonna go
I
with
think
the
he's
bad
got. I
side.
think he's got bigger problems to deal with right now
I
than
think
listening to
so.
our podcast. And Harvey, if you are listening, fuck you. You suck.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think he's got bigger problems to deal with than us right now.
Yeah.
I'll start some. I'll start with the favorites here. There was again. It's kind of a three-way mesh point of mood. I think if I had to choose one, oddly, I'm gonna go with Mel Gibson's The Patriot. I don't know what it is about that movie.
Ah,
It's a kind of a comfort movie that I put on, and I like paying attention to
hey,
period pieces. And
that got a couple of surprise nominations
it's a
to
good
me.
movie. It is a very good movie. It's just problematic now with its lead. Um, I adore The Patriot. I love American Psycho. Shocking. Um,
Sure.
oh, that is one. Did American Psycho get an adapted screenplay nom? Because if it didn't,
My,
I think it did. But if it
my guess
didn't,
is no.
that's bullshit. Because American Psycho's phenomenal.
No, it did not.
Didn't even get a nom. Come on now.
No.
All right, I do have one extra change. American Psycho at least deserves a nomination for adapted screenplay. What won adapted screenplay?
It was Traffic.
I don't know enough about Traffic to say it doesn't deserve it,
Traffic deserves it.
but American Psycho's fucking phenomenal and deserves a nomination. And obviously, we already talked about it. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's such a sentimental film for me. I adore
Right.
that movie. It's one of the few Christmas movies that I actually will watch and enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, we already talked about this on another episode, in which one day we're gonna do Christmas movies for people who don't like Christmas. It's one of
Mhm.
the it's one of the few Christmas movies that I can actually watch and enjoy and not go, Jesus fucking Christ, this sucks. Uh, and Jim Carrey's performance, like you said, is phenomenal. If I had to pick one in terms of more recent viewing, it's probably The Patriot, but American Psycho and How the Grinch Stole Christmas are obviously. And then Remember the Titans is always, it's one of those movies that if you ever see it
Sure.
on, you're like, I ain't turning it off. I'm watching the rest of
Yeah.
the movie.
Are you a Gladiator person? Do you enjoy that movie?
I do enjoy Gladiator quite a bit. I just don't.
Okay.
Gladiator's one of those movies that I think I've seen now maybe only 2 or 3 times. And when it pops up and I'm in the mood for it, because I'm such a mood watcher, when it pops up on a streaming service and I love going to back and watching epics and bigger productions, when that pops up and I'm in the mood, I'm like, fuck yeah, Gladiator. But that strikes so little with the timing that I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
think the
excited
more
for
I've
Gladiator
seen
2 at all. Which,
Yeah, the more I've seen it, I think the less I like it, honestly.
interesting.
Which might just be like one of those things where like I've seen it a lot, so it just gets old. Maybe
I get you.
I don't know. Maybe it's just I need to take a break from it for 10 years or so.
A 10-year break.
Could be that.
A 10-year break from a 20-year-old film. Almost
Yeah,
25-year-old
I don't
film
know.
at this point. And obviously, we're most likely going to have to watch that in the next month or two for when Gladiator 2 is released. So, just to kind of speak
Oh
on
yeah,
the
I
movie a
totally
little bit.
forgot about that. Oh God.
Yeah, with Denzel
Actually,
Washington as a
yeah.
Roman figure with ear piercings, like he's out of the hood, is interesting. But
From what I've seen, it doesn't look awful.
I watched the trailer finally, but
I've only seen pictures.
to me, just this is another spoiler for down the road. We are going to do a podcast about or franchises that shouldn't be a franchise, movies that don't need a sequel, because
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Gladiator 2 just screams you did not need a sequel. What about
Yeah.
Gladiator says you needed a sequel? Which is why I love that Russell Crowe, every time it's brought up, he's like, stop talking about Gladiator 2. Nobody wants Gladiator 2. It doesn't have to happen. I'm not doing another Gladiator 2. And then Ridley Scott's like, I'm making another Gladiator 2. And Russell Crowe has nothing to do with it. So it's like,
Well, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
there. What's your favorite movie of 2000?
Oh, definitely Crouching Tiger.
I was gonna say it's
100%.
probably Crouching Tiger, but I have actually never seen Crouching Tiger all the way through.
It's amazing.
It looks really up my alley, so it's one of those that I'm always like, one of these days. But
Hey, it's got Michelle Yeoh. You'll love it.
it's got Michelle Yeoh. Pretty much any movie that has Michelle Yeoh immediately jumps to the front of the line of like, yeah, I'm probably gonna love this. I love Chow Yun Fat. Gigi Yang, I believe is her name. I love her in almost everything I've ever seen her in. There's not a bad cast member in that movie. So that anything I've ever seen them in, I'm like, even if I don't like the movie entirely, or I think the movie that they're in is kind of meh, I love them in it. So I'm like, wow, it's got to be good.
Yeah, it's a really fun movie too.
And now we transition to the year in which possibly now we have a lot of heavy opinion here as we go to 2001. Okay. But before we hit 2001, we're going to take a quick break. We'll build back with some heavy opinions on 2001. Hey, you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. You trying to get your platform to grow? So am I. And I want to help you out. Let's help each other out. I'm trying a new thing on my podcast and all of my weekly content. I have content Monday through Saturday on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, all kinds of different platforms. And I want to help you grow as well. So now, if you like, comment, subscribe on this video, or follow wherever you may be, you may get a shout out in one of my next projects. That's what I'm going to try to do for you because you're small-time creators just like me, and I want us both to grow. So like, comment, subscribe for more, follow wherever you can. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and I'll try to help you out as well by giving you a shout out. Let's go do this together. Peace. Thank you guys so much for listening to that message, watching that message. Go check it out for yourselves. We now enter 2001. To set the stage of 2001, the advent of our generation's probably favorite fantasy, or collectively the fantasy that captured everyone's imagination of our age group, begins on film with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, is released in 2001. You have utterly brilliant films like Spirited Away, Training Day, A Beautiful Mind, but then you're also getting a huge jump in quality of animation from more than just Disney with Shrek coming out, but you're also getting Monsters Inc., Atlantis, things of that nature, but you're getting a lot of really interesting movies to play with as well in the action genre. Also, shout out from our Dark Knight episode, Knight's Tale comes out, and the other fantasy epic that I think is far better than Harry Potter, sorry Dylan, also begins on film with Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. Comes out in 2001. However, there are two movies that I want to talk about quick from 2001 because this is the era of they took some swings, and I could see why in 2001 they thought it was a good idea, that do not age well at all. Two very different films.
Is it going to be Dungeons and Dragons?
It's not Dungeons and Dragons, although that's so bad known.
That came out in 2001.
I think it was 2000 or 2001, but
okay.
I've never seen it. I just know it's an utter disaster.
It's awful.
Oh, you've watched it?
Yeah, it's garbage.
Shocking. However, 2001 gives us I Am Sam, which is nominated for some Oscars in this, but does not age well.
No.
At all, and it is a man with a mental handicap or mental disabilities, and he has a daughter, and he's fighting for like sole custody of his daughter, and Sean Penn plays this mentally handicapped man, and it's such an over the top, very stereotypical almost portrayal of someone with a mental disability that you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, I've never watched the full movie. I've only seen clips of Sean
Penn. It looks cringe, man. You just cringe when you see it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
From clips, I'm like,
yeah, I didn't. I've never seen the movie, but I just was introduced to this being a thing like maybe 4 months ago. I just saw something on like TikTok or Instagram where like, how did someone let this movie get made? And I was like, it's Sean Penn. It can't be that bad. I was like, oh, it's really that bad. And it's also got.
I'm fairly certain I'm fairly certain he was nominated for it.
He was, which hurts my feelings even more because, like, do we not see how this is in bad taste, guys? Plus, another movie in that realm of just bad taste that does not age well. Jack Black's Shallow Hal is introduced, in which
I like that movie at times.
the idea and the message is like, love someone for their inner beauty, love them for who they are. But it's like Gwyneth Paltrow in a fat suit, and it's just highly problematic, especially in the age we're in now, where we're finally coming around to just love who you are, love your own skin, improve what you feel you need to improve. But, you don't need to shit on people for their physical condition and everything like that. And it's just a weird movie to have.
I don't think it's as problematic as people say.
I think
because I don't think their intentions were to be mean.
Right, that's the thing. I think Shallow Hal, the idea is there. It's just there's some stuff in there where you're like, okay, but it's a comedy, so whatever.
Yeah.
And then we also have a couple failed epics here in Pearl Harbor, Planet of the Apes, directed by Tim Burton. It's some interesting stuff here. So we're getting great epics, and we're getting some failed epics as well.
Yeah.
And also shout out to The Princess Diaries, because that's released in 2001. That really introduces the world to Anne Hathaway, and that's always a plus. So
I like that movie, that first one.
Princess Diaries is a good movie. No one should shit on the original Princess Diaries. It's a really good movie.
Just a couple things about the ceremony. Best Supporting Actor was an upset. Everyone was expecting Ian McKellen. He was the heavy favorite to win. The Best Actor race was a huge upset. Everyone was pretty much saying it was Russell Crowe's Oscar to lose, pretty much.
Yeah.
Halle Berry winning Best Actress. The first and still the only black actress to win that award. She just said, I think this week or last week, she was just saying how crazy it is that still she's the only person who have done that. And then it's a really cool thing that this ceremony, Denzel won, Halle Berry won. Well, Denzel won his second Oscar. Halle Berry won, and then also on that same night, they gave an honorary award to Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool thing.
It's good to see at least finally some recognition is given.
Yeah, it's almost like that
it deserves.
It's almost like that day should have marked a more significant change, but it didn't. It would have been nice had that made a bigger impact than it did, but
right.
Nonetheless, it's still a nice thing to see that 3 people of such big importance got awards that day.
Yes, especially people of color that have that much of an impact on the film industry.
Yeah.
Especially Sidney Poitier. Jesus Christ. Talk about a goddamn trailblazer. When you're so good, you're so undeniable that in the 60s that they have to recognize you. It's like, like, come on.
Yes. When Jim Crow South, when you're successful in the South, like,
it says a lot about you. 2001 is definitely where I get the most opinionated, for sure. I will start with this right here. They completely fucked up the entire animated film category because they didn't even recognize Spirited Away in the correct year.
Yes.
Spirited Away is released in 2001 in July. It's not like it was close and we didn't catch it. And it was still released internationally in 2001.
The thing is, though, the Oscars have their specific rules that need to be met. So there are certain guidelines that if you don't meet them, they have to consider it the year after or the year before, whatever.
Yeah.
They have to be shown in specific
theaters
markets.
And enough theaters and everything like that. Yes.
Yeah. So that's why. But yeah, I get it.
It's so obnoxious.
I ran into that problem as well. I know.
And they clearly make up for it the next year because obviously. So I want to say this. I've seen clips of Spirited Away, but when
That
you
was
were,
fantastic.
I honestly, I think I'm gonna go turn it on when I'm editing this podcast to just be like,
Oh,
oh
good.
shit, because I've been in this mood where I've never actually watched any Studio Ghibli movie ever, all the way through. I've seen a lot of clips of them. I know the impact of them. It's one of those things in which if Spirited Away is hitting top 5 of the most important or best movies on a lot of lists of the entire century that we're in thus far, or of all of filmmaking, it's hitting top 5 lists there, and they're not like bullshit like, oh, I just love Studio Ghibli movies, it should probably tell you the quality of Spirited Away. So that's why it's like,
Yeah.
come
I
on.
haven't seen it. I haven't seen enough of the Studio Ghibli movies. I've seen probably definitely less than half of them.
Yeah.
I've seen like the bigger ones, but yeah, Spirited Away is a masterpiece. There's no denying it.
So the fact that that doesn't even get nominated, granted, it's by technicality, I guess.
Yeah, it wins this next year.
Which there was clearly a makeup award where they're like, it was gonna win last year, we're gonna win it this year, kind of thing.
Yeah, not a makeup award, just a technicality.
Yeah. And also, it's a movie that ages really well, and I think the animation deserves it. Another nom in animated film, I believe Atlantis deserves a nom for an animated film. I don't understand why there's only like 2 or 3 nominees. It makes no sense to me.
That's how they did it at the beginning, yeah.
But Atlantis, The Lost Kingdom, is a phenomenal film. It's just a great piece of animation.
They also, for some reason, I don't understand at all, a lot of the times they only have 3, even nowadays, they still, a lot of times only have 3 nominees for Best Makeup.
Makes no sense.
Don't know what that's about.
At least get it to 5. At least get it to 5. Just
like if you're gonna have 5 in every other category, there's enough movies out there that you can nominate. Like, I don't understand that at all.
Right, and the other thing is, especially with something like animation, maybe back in the day you could argue not enough quality animation was being made to get there. But this is the turning of the age where the early 2000s is where that became the thing. Where studios were dying trying to get animation because they were getting those family audience dollars, which is why seemingly every 3 weeks now a new animated film is coming out. Because they are they are bankable like nobody's business because they get that family dollar to them.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand. I get it now thinking about the technicalities because I do know there are technicalities like you have to be shown in enough theaters, you need to be put in enough markets, blah, 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 blah. I just thought middle of July there's no way they wouldn't hit that threshold. So I was like, come on!
Because I was looking up and I was like, oh wait, Spirited Away was 2001. And I was like, no, I know that won Best Animated Feature. So I was like, what? How did that work out? So then when I went looking for it, that confused the hell out of me. But
also when the competition in animated film is Shrek, very good movie. Monsters Inc., very good movie. And then Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius is nominated, which we love that movie, but I can't say it's great.
No, it's
Atlantis is a far better film than that. The animation's different and better from the computer animation standpoint in Jimmy Neutron. And like we still quote Jimmy Neutron. We still quote Jimmy Neutron. It's not as if I dislike Jimmy Neutron. I love that movie. But it's like, come on. Atlantis is a far better film.
I would agree. Atlantis does deserve a shout out.
Here is where I have no problem admitting this right now. I am going to sound like a total homer. But I do not care because I think I'm very justified in these opinions. Start with some of my critiques. Art direction. That is won by Moulin Rouge. There is a nominee that I think is far better, and that is Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Sure. Yep.
Also, I think Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone has a better art direction than Moulin Rouge.
Sure.
Moulin Rouge, I went back and saw more footage of it last night because I didn't want to just blindly go like, what? No.
Yeah.
My favorite didn't win? However, Moulin Rouge certainly feels like it got a lot of attention because it was classic Oscar bait musical, not because it was actually all that great.
Moulin Rouge is one of those weird movies that just like had this weird sweep of acclaim that just like really picked up steam.
And no one talks
And
about it in a positive light anymore. Ever.
or if they do, it's like they talk about like, yeah, it has a lot of good craft to it, but it's not like a great movie.
Right.
Because I do admit, like, there is a lot of good craft to it. Like the art direction in Moulin Rouge is really nice.
I think it
And the
deserves to be
costumes-
nominated for sure.
Yeah, the costumes are great in it. I like Hugh McGregor and Nicole Kidman in it, but like the movie itself isn't that great.
It's a Baz Luhrmann film. Of course, it's not that great.
Yes, very true.
I mean, Moulin Rouge completely ruined cinema for another 25 years because Baz Luhrmann is still getting work. So
I wouldn't go that far, but
I have not seen a single Baz Luhrmann film that I thought was good. I just see a lot of people that sign up for something that is unique and fun to work on, and it always ends up being so disappointing. And
yeah,
I look at it, it's the same thing. We talked about this in a private conversation yesterday, where sometimes when something's so bad, you deserve to lose your job over it. We were talking about that in terms of The Flash,
yeah,
in which if you're directing The Flash, you don't deserve future work. Sorry, Andy Machete, because I've liked another film of yours, but goddamn, The Flash is so bad, you don't deserve to work on that level anymore.
mhm.
Honestly, if to tie into the Far Out Football podcast, Baz Luhrmann is the kind of coach that always gets you to like 8-9, 9-8. Maybe you get one wild card appearance, but he just keeps hanging on, and you don't know why, and your team never gets any better, and they're just so frustratingly talented and can never get over the hump. That's
Yeah.
Baz Luhrmann. That's the asshole that needs to get fired, and that motherfucker still keeps getting work.
True.
Do you have any takes on that topic of art direction? Because I have a lot of takes to talk about.
No, I mean, I actually have no technical changes at all this year, so you keep taking it away, whatever you got.
You'll be shocked. Costume design won by Moulin Rouge. I completely disagree with that one. I believe that should also be Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring.
No, I have Lord of the Rings as the winner costume design.
Official Oscar website says otherwise.
Huh? My book says Lord of the Rings.
Maybe the book knew that that was also a travesty of justice.
Let me get my iPad one sec. You said you're on the official Oscar site?
Yeah, Oscars.org.
Okay, I'll get a third source then,
Hell yeah.
and get my Wikipedia out, just so we can verify.
Get your Wikipedia resource.
Hey, Wikipedia is really good for the Oscars, actually.
Wikipedia is really good in a lot of ways. Just don't use it in an academic setting. But if you're just trying to learn shit, Wikipedia is by far the best thing to use.
Well, they just have like a really simple setup for the Oscars that I really love.
Yeah.
Costume?
Costume.
Okay, yeah, it is Moulin Rouge. I don't know why. Guess my book isn't the end all be all.
I definitely believe it should be Fellowship of the Ring over Moulin Rouge. Yep. I could see an argument for Sorcerer's Stone. From what I saw, I believe Moulin Rouge still deserves it over Sorcerer's Stone, but I don't think it deserves it over Fellowship of the Ring. Just the amount of costuming work done throughout that entire film, and is done with such artful craftsmanship, and it also tells the story of all these different peoples, is absurd. Costume design is certainly one that I'm like, what the fuck? And then, let me see what it is. Original song, all due respect to Randy Newman. I think that should be, may it be from Fellowship of the Ring. I just think it...
Oh, I don't agree with that one.
I know that was the most controversial of my takes. Because I think May It Be fits the mold a little bit better for that one.
Hey, that was Randy Newman finally winning an Oscar.
I know he should.
Finally.
He should have won Oscars beforehand. So
yeah, I think I have it right here actually.
And then what do I have here? I
15,
also
15 musical nominations, and then he finally won for Best Original Song in 2001.
God damn. You thought he
He
would have.
deserved it.
He should have won in '95. Fuck. Like, come on.
No, that was Colors of the Wind.
I love Colors of the Wind. That's tough because I love
I know,
Colors of the Wind
exactly.
so much.
Exactly.
And then writing, which is adapted screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
I could make an argument for Fellowship of the Ring, but I'm not gonna bitch as much because I think A Beautiful Mind is a phenomenal film. The writing is so well done.
Yeah.
In which I'm like,
I
I think that one comes down to taste for me more so than it
if
does.
if I were to make an argument about a technical category, that's the one I would change. Because I actually think I rewatched A Beautiful Mind. I think last year it was, and I thought it was not great. Like
Wow.
below average, I would say.
Wow. Okay, I didn't really touch it because I really enjoyed A Beautiful Mind when I watched it.
I So did I. That's the thing is like I remember it being really good actually. Like I remember it being like a 7 in that range when I
Yeah.
first saw it. And then yeah, when I watched it again, I was like, man, I do not like this nearly as much as I thought I did.
Interesting.
That's always a shame when that happens, but
Well, it
sometimes
sucks.
it just
It sucks when you
doesn't
go
age
back and
well.
watch a movie and it just doesn't hold up for you.
Yeah,
It's such a shame because you remember all those awesome positive feelings that you had for something, and then when you go
yeah,
back, especially if you're trying to share it with people, and you're getting
yeah,
their reaction plus you're getting your own, like you can't even get your own enjoyment again. It sucks. It's certainly a
yeah,
hard thing. Uh, I can make an argument for that one. I just think Fellowship of the Ring feels so overshadowed because people talk about Return of the King, because Return of the King is
yeah.
legitimately one of the greatest movies ever made.
Hmm.
So it's just it feels like Fellowship of the Ring should have been better and should have got more recognition than that.
Yeah. Oh,
It,
we'll be talking about it. Trust me.
so those are all the technical categories I have, and then we will, unless you have any more technical categories, we can go big six here.
Nope. Like I said, I didn't have any changes that I wrote down. If I did, it would have been the adapted screenplay one.
Okay, take it away.
So for the big six, you got director Ron Howard for A Beautiful Mind, actor Denzel Washington for Training Day, actress Halle Berry for Monsters Ball, supporting actor Jim Broadbent for Iris, supporting actress Jennifer Connelly for A Beautiful Mind. What are you changing?
I'm
I have
not.
three changes here.
I really like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. I just don't know if it.
Sure. He was the favorite, like I said.
I just don't know if I can give it over Denzel. Denzel in Training. I've never watched Training Day all the way through, and that's how I know the performance is so impactful. That like it's just
He did a,
iconic. Uh,
yeah,
I'm motherfucking King Kong. You're like, come
yeah.
on, come on. It's Denzel as like a tour de force in that movie. So I could understand the argument for Russell Crowe. I think Russell Crowe is brilliant in A Beautiful Mind, but I think Denzel deserves that one. Uh, Supporting actor, ironically enough, is not one of the ones I gave to Fellowship of the Ring. Who wins supporting actor again?
Jim Broadbent for Iris,
Didn't know
which
enough
is
about the performance.
it's a really weird win because it's like I don't. I'm assuming no one expected him to win. Like the role is like kind of just like a everyday like nice grandpa kind of role. He's
Uh,
just like a genial kind of old man,
gotcha.
and he's good in the movie, but he's not standout. I would say,
Okay.
and he's Jim Broadbent, so he's always good.
It's
But
yeah, it's Jim Broadbent. Come on now.
yeah, um,
But like people thought Ian McKellen was the favorite.
yes, he was the heavy favorite apparently. Which makes sense because he's never won an Oscar.
And I mean, Ian McKellen's been great in everything he's ever done. So
yeah,
if there were an acting performance from Fellowship of the Ring, it would be Ian McKellen. I could also she's Kate Blanchett's not enough of the movie, but she does such a good job with Lady Galadriel that I'm like, it's my girl. I've been in love with Kate Blanchett since the first time I saw Eyes on Her as Galadriel.
So you don't have any changes?
I don't have any changes in those ones. No, I don't have enough to argue them. That's kind of the thing. I have opinions, but I just don't. I wouldn't argue them.
I have 3 changes here. I would change director. Like I said, I think A Beautiful Mind does not work as well as it used to for me.
I argued that one in my head. I didn't know if I could pull the trigger, but I would go with Peter Jackson if I had.
That's what I would do as well. I think if you're going to award The Return of the King as much as you do, because people laud it as one of the best picture winners ever.
Rightfully so.
I think you have to reward The Fellowship of the Ring almost as much as that. Because he's doing the same exact thing as he's doing in Return of the King.
Yeah.
Like, he's not doing anything differently. The story is different, sure, but the craft is the same.
Well, I think what's so impressive about, all due respect to any other property, it is hard pressed to find a work of fiction that is as dense as Lord of the Rings. And to bring that to life in a way that is so easily understandable, but yet honors the legacy of everything that Tolkien does, is truly nothing short of pure cinematic brilliance. So yes, now that I'm thinking of it, just I didn't want to go so Homerish. It was the things that I was like, come on. But I was like,
when you consider just the scope of the movie, like,
yes,
A Beautiful Mind is pretty much just a family drama.
It's a straightforward family drama.
Yeah, a drama at the end of the day is just a person struggling with mental illness. And then Lord of the Rings is like just about as big of an epic as you're gonna get ever. So the way he combines all the story of Lord of the Rings, it's easily one of the best epics you'll ever see. So yeah, I would have went Peter Jackson there. I would have changed supporting actor, would have went Ian McKellen there.
Okay.
And then I also, this is controversial, would have went Elijah Wood as best actor.
You would have for a nom or for a win?
For a win.
God damn. I mean, I think he deserves a nom. You'll see that you'll see that 2 years from now. For me, that I at least think some consideration should be made.
For some reason, I think Elijah Wood gets not overshadowed, but
he gets shit on for no reason.
He
gets no recognition.
He gets absolutely no credit for anything he does in that.
And he's the linchpin. He's the heartbeat of that film, specifically Fellowship. You know, Return of the King becomes far more of who is the lead in a lot of ways. Fellowship, that is Frodo's story through and through. And
you can say, like, Denzel, yes, he's a scene stealer in Training Day. Like, he is charismatic as hell.
Yeah.
Of course, he's Denzel. But, like, the understatedness of Elijah Wood as Frodo, it's a quiet performance, but it still
speaks volumes.
It holds a lot of weight, and you can feel the weight of the pressure that he feels as the person who's responsible for the entire fate of the world.
Well, the craziest part about Fellowship of the Ring, or just the original Lord of the Rings trilogy in general, is it is not a shot for shot, just adaptation of this book. They make a lot of really smart changes.
Yeah.
To allow the viewer to understand a lot more. You know, like, there is no eye in the sky pillar Mordor, right? It's not a thing. It's just far more of his eyes are everywhere. He has spies everywhere. Giving that a physical representation allows the audience to really see it and give it a visual construction, which is great. It's the same thing with Frodo. When you take a character who, honestly, in the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, the book is pretty fucking silly. Like,
yeah, sure.
And it gains more seriousness as it continues and goes forward. But I think you said it perfectly, to capture the weight of this character, in which he goes from, I live this idyllic life of, you know, parties and beer and picnics, and I sit and read books by the tree, and I love my small town life. If you tell that story with somebody else in a modern piece where it's like, oh, small time country bumpkin has to travel the entire world to save it, immediately that gets way more attention. But because it's in this fantasy setting, Elijah Wood will never get the credit he deserves for the weight of that performance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably the best portrayal of the reluctant hero you'll get in the fantasy genre.
Yeah. And their interpretation of Aragorn is far more reluctant hero, so Viggo's performance overall is also real fucking close in that, but it's amazing how much he's willing to do, and he keeps sacrificing more and more and more. And it comes through in the character. It comes through in the performance. It's not inherently just the character and him saying, "Well, I'll do it because I have to." It's like, you can see how much weight he has in it.
Speaking of Viggo, do you have any shout-outs you want to give?
2001, not at this point.
Okay.
They're all great, so it's kind of hard. Sean Bean's performance is pretty rad.
I had down best supporting actor. I had a couple down. I had Sean Bean, Sean Astin, and Viggo Mortensen. And then I couldn't help myself. I had to write it down. Richard Harris in Harry Potter.
He deserves a nom for that. He deserves a shout out for that. I also think Robbie Coltrane in the original with Hagrid.
Sure.
I think he deserves a little bit of cred there. The other thing I could see is I'm a little shocked that there was it was really cultish at the time. Shout out, I like Jake Gyllenhaal and Donnie Darko a lot. I just think he has a very good performance in that. And that's another movie that I'm like, it's never going to get the credit it deserves critically. But wow.
Lupin's barking.
Yeah, I can tell. Lupin's having some fun today. He has opinions on Donnie Darko and Lord of the Rings being snubbed at the Oscars. I guess
so. Couple more shoutouts. Best actress, I had Nicole Kidman in The Others.
Okay.
She's great in that movie. Maribel Verdú in Y Tu Mamá También. Best actor, Diego Luna and Garcia Bernal in that movie as well.
Okay.
And then best director, Alfonso Cuarón, also for Y Tu Mamá También.
Okay. Very interesting.
Actual nominees for best picture, we got A Beautiful Mind as the winner. Gosford Park, In the Bedroom, The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and Moulin Rouge.
You'll be shocked what I tell you best picture to.
I'm sure we agree.
It's Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. The scope of that movie is so impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And there is not a single thing that makes you question that film. It's a masterpiece. And the only reason it is not remembered as the crown jewel is because Return of the King is that. fucking good.
Yeah.
And it's wild. Yeah. It's wild to think about that. Something that fucking good is the second best in this trilogy.
Yeah.
Where,
yeah, that's true.
Like, Two Towers, really, really good movie, and it looks like dog shit compared to the other two. That's how good these two are.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's insane to think about that shit.
Do you have any other changes to that at all?
I don't know enough about some of those films to do it. I'm a little shocked that Training Day wasn't included in that one. Just because of it.
In the bedroom's a weird outlier in that, because it's like it's this pretty basic. That might be a Miramax movie again.
Oh, fucking course it is.
That strikes me as that it could be. Let me see here. See if it says it. Yeah, it is. It is a Miramax movie. It's just like a pretty basic family drama set up in New England.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember it being pretty much as basic as it gets. I had it down on my ratings as a 6, aka A movie.
Okay.
Yeah, Gosford Park is actually a lot of fun. It has like all the British actors you'll ever recognize in it.
Which I know you really love. That's one of your favorite things. You love getting the British actors.
It's a lot of fun. But I actually took out the bed in the bedroom and Moulin Rouge, and then I put in Mulholland Drive and E2 Mama Tambien. So those are changes I would make.
It's a lot of changes in that category. New winner and 2 new nominees. It's pretty impressive.
Yep.
Yeah, The Fellowship of the Ring is a masterpiece that will never get the credit it deserves.
I'm assuming that's both our favorite movie.
You would be shocked to see that, yes.
Yeah.
I will say I would throw out an honorable mention for Donnie Darko. It's not a movie I've watched a lot. Every time I've ever watched it, I just think it's fucking brilliant. I love Donnie Darko.
Yeah, I've only seen it the one time.
I'm a little shocked that you didn't go Sorcerer's Stone as your favorite movie. You went Fellowship of the Ring.
It's because
Harry Potter means... Hold up your arm, please.
Well, I'll show off the ones that are immediately recognizable.
Yeah, not biased at all
Yeah.
towards Harry Potter over there.
Because I recognize that Sorcerer's Stone is not as good a film as Fellowship of the Ring. And I do love Lord of the Rings as well. So
you do. It's just your love for Harry Potter is one that... It's kind of like when... It's a similar reaction to if I don't pick a Batman movie and people were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
In 2000, like, that's how good I think Top Gun Maverick is in 2022, that I didn't pick the Batman as my favorite movie, and I fucking love the Batman, and I'm like, there's just something about Top Gun Maverick, man. It's so, that's why I'm like, I'm a little shocked you didn't go with Sorcerer's Stone.
It'd be like an 8.5 and an 8.49.
Okay. What would be your grade on Fellowship of the Ring?
I have it here. Let's see. So actually, I gave everything a 6.5 except Bedroom Window, which I gave a 6, and then I gave Fellowship of the Ring 8.5.
Okay.
So yeah.
What does it take? What does it take to get in the 9s with you, dude?
Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is a 9, and I know the only 10 I ever gave was Schindler's List.
Hard judging here.
Jaws got a 9.5. I know that.
You do love Jaws. You love yourself some Jaws.
Yeah. So very few movies get in that 9 range.
Okay. Fair enough as it is. Yeah, Fellowship of the Ring, phenomenal. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I'll give another shout out to Atlantis and Princess Diaries. They're just fun, good movies to watch. Gotta love them.
Yeah.
Gotta love them. And I did love Rush Hour 2 a lot as a kid. Not so much as an adult, but loved it as a kid. Fun to get that Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker vibe in there. All right, we're going to transition to 2002. But before we do that, here's a message. Be right back for you. Howdy, howdy, fellow PT creative fans out there. We have a project near and dear to our hearts that we really want you to check out. Over on our YouTube channel, you can go check out the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project. It's one of our favorite projects we've ever gotten the chance to work on, where we're creating new Pokemon on a weekly basis and creating our own Fakemon region. They're called the Helzari region. There you're going to see new starter Pokemon, or as you can see to your right if you're on video, a new Eevee evolution. So many cool new Pokemon and vibes are going to be found here on the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project, and it's going to make it help your day out. Go support some art that you would love to see. Go check out the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project, available every single Wednesday on PT Creative. Go check it out now. Alrighty, folks. Thank you for listening to those messages. We're in 2002, where we're seeing... 2002 is a weird year. It's a weird year for some stuff. You're getting big-time sequels such as Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Star Wars, Attack of the Clones. We're getting new takes on animation with Lilo and Stitch, Ice Age, and then we're getting the transition of the superhero movie with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. But you're getting a lot of fun, weird stuff. Which includes one of Dylan's secret favorites, like Mike, with Lil Bow Wow.
Yeah.
And Master of Disguise, another one of Dylan's favorites that is universally panned as a horrible film.
That's a banner year.
Also in this, you have the end of the Hannibal Lecter kind of run with Anthony Hopkins and Red Dragon. The Ring is taking over theaters as a horror film. You're getting Minority Report with Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg, and Catch Me If You Can is also a wildly good film in this one. And then the shock hit of that year was My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which is actually a pretty goddamn good film. But it was it was the shocking hit of the year where it just kind of took over for a little bit.
So a couple things about the ceremony, a couple fun things. So, I recommend everyone go watch this. It's amazing to watch. Michael Moore gave a speech when he won Best Documentary, and he was just booed like fucking crazy because he gave this huge speech about how George W. Bush is, this unjust war and all that. It's hilarious. Go watch it. It's fantastic.
Here's the thing. I appreciate.
He went for bowling for Columbine.
Yeah.
And I actually think in the long run he proved to be correct.
Right. Like the thing is I don't disagree with him. But it's one of those, I get it, it's a documentarian. Documentarians are a different breed than actors or actresses and directors.
Especially Michael Moore.
And Michael Moore is a unique breed all by himself. Maybe as Bowling for Columbine, which is already a tough subject, maybe right as we're transitioning, right in the heat of, we've just dealt with 9/11 within a year-ish time. Maybe not the best time to be like, George W. Bush sucks. It's like, even if you think that, and you are completely entitled to that opinion, and I don't really think you're wrong to have that opinion. Right? Maybe not the best time to do it is the Oscars.
Yeah.
The Oscars maybe not be the platform for that.
It's fun to watch, though. Recommended viewing. And then you also have Eminem winning Best Song, which was a huge upset over Bono and the U2 boys, because they had a song for Gangs of New York. And then apparently Best Actor was one of the biggest upsets in Oscars history in terms of like the bookies and the odds. Because it was like it was pretty much a 2-horse race between Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York and Jack Nicholson for About Schmidt.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being Adrian Brody.
Okay.
Oh, and then one more tidbit that I thought was really cool. the producer of Chicago tried for over 3 decades to get the film adaptation of it made.
Wow, okay.
I was like, that's dedication right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories like that of big time productions taking forever. Right now, people like to talk about how Ryan Reynolds campaigned for like 10 years to get Deadpool made. That's nothing compared to Chicago. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Same thing, like, I
And
know Michael Uslan, who's always named as a producer on Batman. It took him 10 years to get Batman made for the first time, so it's like, that's not the
crazy,
same as
though.
Chicago to keep that. Chicago's a different product. Like, at least superheroes, you're kind of like, it's a franchise, and it's a,
But it's so weird because Chicago's it's a Bob Fosse musical adaptation.
Yeah.
So you would think like that name alone, you would think, yeah, we'll take a risk on it.
Yeah.
Like
no one
30
wants to
years,
do it.
that's a long time.
It's fucking wild. That's just wild. So let's get back to just sew up. Wrong year, right win. Spirited Away does win in 2002.
Yep.
Ironically enough, if they give it in the right year, which I get by their technicalities, they did the correct thing by their bylaws and standards. If Spirited Away wins in 2001, what do you put in animated film instead of Spirited Away?
Let's see. Hey.
I would go Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. It's actually a pretty damn good movie.
I haven't seen that in such a long time, so I'd probably, from the top of my head, from what I remember, I'd probably go Lilo and Stitch.
They're both.
But that's just from what I remember of the nominees.
Yeah, I love Lilo and Stitch as well. If I remember just straight quality, I think Spirit has.
Okay.
It's also not fair because Lilo and Stitch, I watched for the first time sit down in almost 20 years last week. because my wife and a friend of ours were talking, and they're like, they just got talking about Lilo and Stitch. They're like, let's just watch Lilo and Stitch. I was like, okay, I guess we're watching Lilo and Stitch right now. But I haven't watched
Talk about
Lilo
a movie that does not need a remake.
Lilo and Stitch is so unique and so great, and they're making the live action one, and I'm like, you got to capture magic. It's kind of like, it's such a weird, unique thing of its time. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, I was obsessed with Lilo and Stitch. I loved Lilo and Stitch.
I remember.
And it's such a unique thing for the time frame that it's like, Disney taking some chances with some of these live action fucking remakes right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's good animated film one. Cinematography, I don't think Two Towers deserves as much recognition for, overall production and acting and directing everything. However, I do believe the cinematography in Helm's Deep alone makes me think Two Towers deserves that. Who wins cinematography?
Road to Perdition.
All due respect to Road to Perdition, because I haven't seen enough of it to really judge it as much. I just think that the cinematography in Helm's Deep really takes that cinematography for me to a place that's so special.
Two Towers isn't even nominated.
Yeah, that's where I was like, to not even get a nomination for some of the work is ridiculous, and I would still put it in a win. Costume design, same deal. Here is where I will get oddly, spirited for something. Both Two Towers and Attack of the Clones aren't put in costume design. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing?
Okay, yeah.
Those are just, I look at some of the, again, I know The Pianist, but I haven't watched it all the way through. I don't know the hours. I know the visual look of Frida. I obviously know the visual look of Gangs of New York. It's almost impossible to not know the visual look of Gangs of New York. However, it's a movie I've never been really interested in watching, so I never do.
Yeah.
And Chicago, I have watched. I can understand the I can understand the win for Chicago. But for Attack of the Clones, the costuming just on Padme alone, to me, is like, god damn, it's worthwhile. Plus the other stuff that they're doing with a lot of the different costume designs, I'm like, come on. And then Two Towers, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Look at the costume work here. What are we doing?
I can understand the Two Towers one. I don't know what I would take out to put it in there, because I actually do like all the nominees for once.
Wow.
I guess if I had to take one out, I would put it in place of the Hours. But I don't have a problem with any of the nominees.
Okay. And then to revisit original song, I don't care if they thought it was an upset at the time. It's only because it was a rap song why it was an upset. That is the most fucking obvious Oscar win in history in my mind. Is Lose Yourself for 8 Mile. Lose Yourself for 8 Mile is an obvious number one seed of a tournament of original songs in Oscar history. It's like an obvious number one seed.
Yeah, you just have to go back like listen to the past 20 years of Oscar winners and then listen to Lose Yourself, and then you'll understand why it was such a big change.
Yes, it's incredibly different, especially at the time where we're going through that whole dumb rap is bad, rap is evil bullshit. And then you get 8 Mile, and I don't care who you are. If you don't like Lose Yourself, that's a you problem. That's not a song's problem. That's a you problem. I literally, in my notes, I have original song, fucking obvious, like that it should have won. So to hear that they thought it was an upset, I'm like, that's only because of the Fuddy Duddies.
No, yeah, I when I read that, I was like, I mean, I understand it, but it is a surprise to me.
So that, to me, that's the most obvious fucking thing ever. Like, come on. Yeah. He's weak. Arms are heavy.
I have no big misses in the technical categories.
Okay.
And actually, I'll read out the big six. So director, you got Roman Polanski, the pianist, who we're going to talk about in 1 second.
Wildly controversial.
Actor, Adrian Brody. Actress, or Adrian Brody for the pianist. Actress, Nicole Kidman for the Hours. Supporting actor, Chris Cooper for adaptation. Supporting actress, Catherine Zeta-Jones for Chicago. And I have 0 changes. I think they did a good job there.
I had 2 questions. I would have liked to see a nom for Leonardo DiCaprio for Catch Me If You Can.
Sure.
I think he's phenomenal in that film. And I don't know if he qualifies as a supporting actor, but I would also like to see Tom Hanks in that. Christopher Walken got a nom for supporting actor for Catch Me If You Can. I don't know if Tom Hanks qualifies as a supporting actor, but he's damn good in it.
I think you could swing it as a supporting actor because there's been a lot worse cases where things have pulled off supporting actor parts where they definitely weren't. So like, you can get away with it.
So those are the only 2 that I wasn't gonna go so far without watching some of the performances to say change it based on those 2.
Yeah.
But for neither of them to get recognized, and Catch Me If You Can wasn't recognized all that much in this ceremony. I was kind of like,
well, that's kind of one of Spielberg's like forgotten movies, really.
Which is so strange because it's such a favorite in a subsection of people our age.
Yeah.
Like our age, that's kind of one of their favorite Spielberg movies is Catch Me If You Can.
Mm-hmm. Well, this whole period of movies is kind of forgotten, like Minority Report, The Terminal,
AI,
Catch Me If You Can.
Those are all movies that I forget half the time are Spielberg movies outside of Catch Me If You Can.
Nicole Kidman plays Virginia Woolf. She's really good in the movie. It's like the only thing that I don't like about that movie is she wears like this really distracting fake nose.
Okay.
But she's really good in it. It's just Virginia Woolf battling with depression, really.
Nice.
And then Adrian Brody was the youngest, still is the best, youngest best actor winner.
Okay.
29 years old, I'm pretty sure. So younger than I am now.
Yeah.
So Roman Polanski. This is a doozy.
Would you like to explain the story of Roman Polanski to people for those who
Yeah.
don't know? Because it's kind of hidden because it's so long ago as to why Polanski is so controversial.
Okay. So I'm going to read this word for word of what I wrote down just so I'm not getting in any. So I'm not putting anything out there that wasn't already in the internet.
Yes.
Okay. So it's going to go from sad and disturbing to sad and disturbing in a totally different way.
Yep.
Okay. So Roman Polanski's Polish Jewish parents moved the family from his birthplace in Paris back to Krakow?
Yeah, Krakow.
Krakow in 1937. 2 years later, the invasion of Poland by Nazi Germany started World War II, and the family found themselves trapped in the Krakow ghetto. Polanski's father was transferred, along with thousands of other Jews, to Mauthausen in Austria. His mother, who was 4 months pregnant at the time, was taken to Auschwitz and killed in the gas chambers soon after she arrived.
Oh, God.
So already, that's like
tragedy.
That's about as tragic a past as you're ever going to find.
Yes.
So it's like he has a lot of leeway as a person. But when you hear the rest of his life, then you go, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So in 1977, Polanski was arrested for drugging and raping a 13-year-old girl. He pled guilty to the lesser charge of unlawful sex with a minor in exchange for a probation-only sentence. The night before sentencing in 1978, he learned that the judge would likely reject the offered plea bargain, so he fled the U.S. to Europe, where he continued his career. He remains a fugitive from the U.S. justice system. Further allegations of abuse have been made by other women since then.
Yep.
So, definitely a problematic figure. There's no doubt he's a tremendous filmmaker, but that's just as bad as Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, no, it's the... The worst part is I did a small rabbit hole dive on Roman Polanski when I was going through some film history a couple months ago, and I was like, just let me understand this a little bit more. I knew you always get the he had a sexual assault thing. That's what you get. You don't necessarily get no, he drugged and raped a teenager, a young teenager. That's fucked. You always hear it as oh no, it's kind of it's this weird old Hollywood spin on it half the time, where some people tell the tale as though it's a consensual relationship with a really old teen. It's no, that's not what fucking happened.
No.
And
when you hear it was some kind of sexual assault thing, that has a very wide area that it could be,
Rape is a whole different level, especially when you're drugging a person and it's an underage. That's just an ick fact. That is every red flag fucking possible is in that goddamn story. And the fact that it's one of those ick factor things where you wish organizations like the Oscars would be we're not even going to consider this. It might be great.
Unfortunately, yeah. Because...
And there's some people still in those circles that have a soft spot for him, as if he's this persecuted figure that got chased out of the country.
It's the classic thing of, does he deserve recognition as an artist? Because he did not make this movie alone. thousands and thousands of people work on a movie.
Right.
Do they not deserve recognition for their craft?
Right.
Like, does Adrian Brody not deserve to win for The Pianist because he was directed by Roman Polanski?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
a tough argument.
Yeah. The easiest way to take that argument out of play is don't work with Roman Polanski. And that's the worst part and also it's the classic thing of, I always boil that kind of stuff down to this, is when we get into subjects like that, when society gets into these very tough subjects in which, do people that have that kind of mar of character and just like huge red flag on their entire life, when something's outside of your control, can you really do anything about it? The most I can say is I'm never going to go watch a Roman Polanski film. Like, no. I'm not even going to, even to watch Brody's performance. It's nothing against Adrian Brody. I know he's a very good actor. And
he's great in that movie. Like, he deserves his win.
And I'm not taking his performance away. It's just something, me personally, I'm like, how do I combat it? I will just never acknowledge Roman Polanski's work and just say he's a piece of shit human being. And as tragic as your life starts, that doesn't give the excuse to make other people's lives a tragedy either. And that's so sad. But yeah, it's kind of, I always look at it like, I get into conversations like this based on football a lot. It's like, I can't believe people would even want to be teammates with that guy. It's like,
yeah,
you're like, okay, let's just pick a team. Fuck it. The Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Let's just say some star player has some huge, horrible accusations, but there's not enough to really put him away. But it's clear, or I'll use a perfect example right now. Cleveland Browns. Sean Watson, currently again being accused of more sexual misconduct and assault, right? Can I go fault the other team members of the Cleveland Browns when there's only 32 teams to employ you? This is your best opportunity. You have no control over who they hire as their quarterback. You have no control over that. Is it their fault? Is it your fault that they hired that guy? No, it's not. But at the same time, there is that other side. It's like, well, you could make the choice to try to go elsewhere and just say no. And it's that weird, what do you do factor. And yeah, can you begrudge half the people that worked? Like, can you begrudge the gaffer on this fucking movie or the guy holding a goddamn boom mic? And
no. I'll just say it right now. This is going to be controversial too. The Pianist is the movie I would put as Best Picture.
Wow.
And that's not with saying, putting Roman Polanski on a pedestal at all. It's saying that I think the story they tell is a story that needs to be told. Like, because it's a biography at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's a biopic. I can't remember the guy's name. I would butcher it anyways. But, like, it's a story that deserves to be told. So why should that story be punished because someone else is an asshole?
Right. It's just that weird quandary that you have to figure out your own. Everyone kind of has to figure out their own boundary with it and just follow their boundary.
It should, because you could almost argue that the Academy should almost have a legal almost department where they can kind of ban people from being nominated.
Right.
But then that could also turn into like a Red Scare kind of thing, like they were doing in the 50s,
right,
where people are just getting blacklisted for political reasons. So, yeah, it's a complicated situation, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's just sad in so many ways.
It would definitely come in handy at times, that's for sure.
It's one of those that in the circumstances where everyone could agree on something like this, where 99% of people would say, oh, wait, that guy drugged and raped a teenager? Yeah, fuck that. We're never going to recognize that guy.
Yeah.
He should be in prison. You're like, yeah.
Because then you can also strip away his win. You can also if he was a producer, which I don't know if he was, he would also have his Oscar stripped away as Best Picture winner.
Yeah.
His personal one, not the movies, but
right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a complicated situation.
Yeah. The easiest way to say it
into-
is Roman Polanski's a piece of shit, and that's that.
Yeah. Jumping into the actual nominees, Chicago wins Best Picture. Gangs of New York was a heavy favorite. The Hours, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and The Pianist.
I found it so interesting that Two Towers got a nom here, and yet all the other stuff that it has, yeah, because I just thought if you're not going to give it to Fellowship, which is, in my opinion, far and away better than Two Towers.
Well, it got a nomination for Best Picture.
It did.
Fellowship.
But at least Fellowship was recognized in a lot of other different categories. The categories that I believe Two Towers should be recognized in.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it feels almost Chocolat-esque, where it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's a great movie. Throw it in there.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like to me.
There was also, I think there was a kind of thing like, oh, we know this third one's coming out, so we'll just wait and see if it's as good as we think it's going to be. We'll just hand them all the Oscars.
Franchises definitely, when they're good, get handed a lot in their second and third goes when they probably earned them in the first go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, that's what earns them money. A lot of franchises fail after the first movie, but the first movie was so good, they carry that momentum to 2, 3, 4. Transformers, perfect example.
True.
Transformers 1 is a fun movie. It's a good movie. It's enjoyable. Transformers 2 hurts people's feelings because it's that bad. You know?
Yeah.
That's how franchises work in both good ways and bad. I don't have any qualms about those nominees. I don't know enough about half of them. Personally, I'd still give it to Two Towers in terms of just what I like, but I can't say it's the best movie of the time. I could see Catch Me If You Can getting a nom. I just think that's such a good movie that's under-recognized.
Sure. I like I said, I would have The Pianist win, and then I also took out The Hours and put in Spirited Away.
That's the other thing is Spirited Away is another one of those first. In your opinion, because you're such a big Beauty and the Beast fan, is Spirited Away better than Beauty and the Beast?
Not to me personally, but to most people, yes.
And then that kind of speaks to, shouldn't it be in the actual best category as well, not just best animated?
Yeah.
Spirited Away feels like another one of those entries in the animation does not get the credit it deserves, but its quality is gonna push people to finally get to the point where it doesn't matter if it's animated, it matters if it's a fucking movie, and it needs to be recognized for its quality.
We're still not at that point. Yeah. So
we're getting closer, but we're not at that point. Didn't Toy Story 3 get a nom? What was the animated film that finally got a big, like, Toy Story 3 absolutely deserves a nomination later for Best Picture.
Up got one, then the year after Toy Story as well.
Yeah, so I mean, we're in a good place for that one. Anything else Oscar-wise in 2002 for you?
Nope. That was it.
What's your favorite movie of 2002?
Probably Two Towers. Probably.
Fair.
I mean, I'd have to. Yeah. It'd be hard to not say that.
I have kind of a honorable mentions based on mood kind of category here. Two Towers is obviously in that mix. I think if you look at just what I want to watch, Catch Me If You Can probably is my favorite movie of 2002. Two Towers would be very close. And then two movies that I love that are mood-based. 28 Days Later. I really enjoyed that movie. And then a movie that it's not good at all. I want to make that very clear. This is when I just want to pick me up or just want something dumb entertainment. I gotta give some love to Jackass the movie. It just makes me laugh. It's of the time period.
It's fun.
And it's just a fun movie. So I gotta say one of my favorites of 2002 is Jackass the movie. Now, from Jackass the movie, we'll take you to a serious, super serious message. And we'll come back for 2003. We'll catch you on the flip side. I hear you guys are really liking PT Creative's content. And you know what? You should, because it's pretty rad. You may even want to support the channel even more. Well, there's a way you can do it and reward yourself. And that's by going to our Etsy shop. Head on over to PTE Creative's Etsy shop and you can find all kinds of cool merch like you see on screen. You may be watching some of our Pokemon themed content and going, I'd love some merch there. You can do that. You can even get our custom Fakemon stickers right there, or stickers of existing Pokemon, t-shirts, or mystery packs. But you may be saying, I don't know if Pokemon's maybe my vibe. You know what? That's fine, because we got all kinds of fun, snarky millennial content and sports-related things over at the Etsy shop as well. You maybe got some big bench warmer energy that you just got to spread with the world. Or maybe you just need to tell people that you hope both teams are having fun as they're playing, because it's just all about vibes to you. And you hate to see it. You'd hate to see it if you didn't get your merch. You can go get that merch right here, right now. Head on over to Etsy. Go to etsy.com/shop/PTE Creative and go get yourself some awesome merch and go support a local content creator in this community we call the internet. Hope y'all see some great merch coming soon from Etsy. Go to PT Creative on Etsy and get yourself some great merch. No! And we're back from that super serious ad into 2003, which is one of the largest sweeps in Oscar history. But to set the stage, in theaters, you're seeing epics like Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, Last Samurai, a movie that probably would have done a lot better if it was released in any other year except 2003. The Matrix comes to a close with Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions being released only 6 months apart in the same year, which is wild. You're seeing also the extensions of other franchises, X2, Terminator 3, Bad Boys 2, and we're getting even more of an advent of the comic book movie as we get the original Hulk with Eric Bana, and we get Daredevil with Ben Affleck, which if those don't scream quality to you, I don't know what quality is, man.
Yeah.
Also some Dylan favorites here, or favorites of your past, Freddy vs. Jason, and and School of Rock are both brought out in 2003. Classic. So that's kind of the scene. Also, first Kill Bill is released in 2003, which is another one I was a little shocked by, like, no recognition, because Kill Bill is so widely regarded as such a quality movie by a lot of people. I've never really dove into Kill Bill that much.
I think that's mostly Tarantino bros.
It's shocking how big that group is. It's like Tarantino bros, and you're like, really? Because when people say Kill Bill, I'm like, that's your favorite? Because when I watch Kill Bill, I'm like, it's okay, I get it. It's stylish, it's fun.
Yeah.
But I've every time I've watched clips of it, even when I want to sit down and watch the full thing, I'm kind of like, You tell me it's Inglourious Bastards, Eightful Eight, Pulp Fiction, I'm like, I get that. Those are all really good. Whereas Kill Bill, I'm kind of like, all right. I have a couple for all of our categories, and then I actually do have a few noms, shout-outs, or straight-up win changes for our bigger ones as well.
Okay.
Go ahead.
1 sec, though, because I teased this in private.
Yes, you did.
Because I said there's a juicy detail in this year.
Yes, you did. 2003. Take it there.
Yeah, I hinted that it has to do with Nazis. So this first part doesn't. But this is the first Oscars that had the 5-second rule after the Janet Jackson Super Bowl halftime show.
So
Thought that was a fun fact.
Okay.
And then the Nazi thing is, the Academy got a bunch of criticism for including Leni Riefenstahl in the in memoriam section. Do you know who that is?
No.
She's a she's a um, German director, editor, producer who made Triumph of the Will.
You can't
So,
do that, man.
so she was Hitler's favorite filmmaker.
No
She
shit.
made. She was pretty much the major filmmaker for Nazi propaganda. And the thing about it is, like, it's a baffling choice because I don't see who would have complained had you
Nobody.
just left it out.
The only people that would have complained is the subsection of the trash of humanity. The trash of humanity that have film taste. Like, that's...
It is so weird.
What the fuck are you... Like, here's the thing. When you first teased this to me in private, and I think you may have teased a little bit on the show when we last talked about it, I thought we were gonna get some, like, behind the scenes, like, oh, it turns out this guy was campaigning actually had some real Nazi ties, or there was this one production piece that was like, oh wow, they had a whole neo-Nazi kind of thing. To honor the person,
a literal Nazi,
who is a legit Nazi. Just quick history lesson in case people don't know. If you're watching this or listening to this, you probably know. But in case you just don't know. One of the most important ways that Hitler actually rose to power with popularity was he used pop culture of the time. Triumph of the Wills is a huge cinema piece that was created by the Nazis to glorify the Nazis and to show them as heroes. It is so abundantly clear that it is Nazi propaganda. Right? It's made by Nazis for Nazis to create more Nazis. That is the whole fucking point.
It is the propaganda piece that, like, cemented the idea of the master race and the Untermensch.
Yes.
The unmentionable people.
Right.
Yeah.
To honor the person who very much has a hand in helping Adolf Hitler come to power. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And then I also teased this when I was talking to you. I'm reading the autobiography of Frank Capra.
Yep.
Right here. The Name Above Title. That's what it's called. And he just happened to be talking about Triumph of the Will when I was the day that I was researching this. So I'll read a quote that he said. He said, "The film was the most ominous prelude of Hitler's Holocaust of hate. Satan couldn't have devised a more blood-chilling super spectacle. It was at once the glorification of war, the deification of Hitler, and the canonization of his apostles. With all the pomp and mystical trappings of a Wagner opera, its message was blunt and brutal. We, the Germans, are the new invincible gods." And then he goes on to say, "Mass murder of innocents is beyond human understanding, but a viewing of Triumph of the Will should have predicted it." So even people at the times in the 30s and 40s perfectly understood that how big a propaganda piece it was. Because Frank Capra volunteered into the U.S. Army in World War II. And he was in the morale section
of the U.S. Army. Kind of like how Dr. Seuss was part of the Army. And
yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, really fascinating stuff.
I mean, that is a film legend. That
Yeah. Oh, for anyone who doesn't know, Frank Capra directed Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, It's a Wonderful Life, bunch of classics.
bunch of the
Great
classes.
director.
Frank Capra is a huge influence on Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
Anytime Spielberg talks about the romanticization that he has in film, he always talks about Frank Capra. So it's one of those that he's just like, John Ford made John Ford pictures. Frank Capra made Frank Capra pictures. I wanted to make Steven Spielberg pictures. It's like, okay, those are his guys, so to speak.
Yep.
So it's very interesting to say. What a fucking dumbass way to start. God damn.
Yeah.
God
I mean,
damn.
that's a choice, that's for sure.
Also, here's the other thing. What a sticky ass situation back to back years.
Yeah.
You are dipping your toe in with The Pianist with a movie with, although he's a piece of shit, part of the sympathy is garnered because he's a Holocaust survivor in Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
And then the
And
next
the movie is about a Holocaust survivor.
and
yeah.
the movie is about a Holocaust survivor. And then the next year, you honor the person with the most pop culture clout in gaining Nazi power. What in the flying fuck are you doing?
Like, just so much unneeded attention.
Unnecessary. Whoever made that, if they weren't fired immediately, like you wish the story came down to like one intern who was like really misguided, just threw it in there, and like what? Triumph of the Wills, big movie. What?
Yeah.
And you just go, this kid needs to get fired, but it's not that simple.
Yeah, I mean, most people do watch it in film school.
Yeah.
It's taught in most film schools, but like, it's not an enjoyable watch. Let's put it that way.
No shit. Did you have to sit and watch it?
Yes, and it was awful.
Yeah. You just go, what the fuck are you doing? Like, because I've seen bits and pieces of it in film classes too, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Do you have any technical category changes?
I do. Let's get back to some other stuff. Now, I just want to make sure I have my nominees correct as I'm doing this as well. So, take me to art direction first.
Okay. Girl with the Pearl Earring, The Last Samurai, The Return of the King wins, Master and Commander, and Seabiscuit.
I believe a nom should at least be made for Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Sure, yeah.
I highly...
I'd agree with that.
That is such an underrated film.
I agree.
Curse of the Black Pearl is a great movie. And there was a couple categories that Curse of the Black Pearl felt like, if it's just
Johnny Depp gets a nomination.
He deserves a nomination for that role.
I agree.
And he's tremendous in that. But to not even get a nomination for art direction, I was kind of like, come on.
Yeah.
Also, it's got a period piece vibe to it as well. I was like, this has enough Oscar shit in it. And I'm like, come on.
I think it's because it's a Disney movie.
Yeah. So, I would go art direction, Pirates of the Caribbean. Cinematography, one of the few categories that Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is not nominated in. Not only do I think it deserves a nomination, I believe it certainly deserves the win for cinematography.
That's the one I had down. Yep.
I don't know how Return of the King does not get a cinematography nom at the very least, if not a win.
I just want to go on this point for a second. The Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring wins best cinematography, and then The Two Towers and Return of the King don't even get nominations for cinematography. That is like baffling beyond belief.
Because it's fucking stupid. Yeah.
It just makes no sense.
I don't know how you can see. I understand we got a lot of visual effects here. There's not like 6,000 Riders of Rohan. No shit.
Sure.
But even the shots they have of the Riders of Rohan, like Pelennor Fields alone, should win cinematography. Not to mention all the cinematography, the great ominous angles they show in Mordor of Frodo climbing into the caves of the mountains with Gollum right before he tosses Sam aside. Minas Morgul, the way they shoot Minas Morgul, it's barely in the movie, and it's so ominous because of the way the cinematography is done.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the beautiful shots that they have of the landscape of Edoras and the transitions from Edoras to the encampment. I don't know in what world they think that cinematography doesn't even deserve a nomination, but doesn't win.
Well, you hit on something there that will come up in future episodes of visual effects for cinematography.
Yeah.
But they 1 second. Emma's having a freak out.
Yep, I can tell.
Sorry. Okay. So the big problem I see with that art is they filmed all 3 Lord of the Rings movies at the same time.
Correct.
Right? And this is still in the early 2000s when you couldn't do all that much with computers. This is not the Hobbit trilogy where you can shoot 75% of your scenes in a blue screen, green screen environment and fill it in later. You have to shoot stuff practically as much as you can and then incorporate it, composite it in.
Yeah.
Like, there will be instances in the future where we're going to talk about cinematography where it's like, is that really cinematography? Kinda. So
it's just I don't get that at all. You see that shot of the Rohirrim as they're getting ready to go into Pelennor Fields, and I'm not talking about the big one where it's clearly CGI.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the one dead on where you see all the horses and you can see the breath and you can see everything. It's like, come on.
There's a lot of like beautiful shots in that movie.
That's one of the most emotional scenes that I will watch in my entire life. Is when he's getting ready, when Theoden's getting them ready for the march into the Pelennor Fields. I cry almost every time I watch it. I get goosebumps every time. Because I'm just like, this is what you do for good. This is the whole point. And that's like movie magic at its finest. I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it. Where it's just, you so believe in that cause when you're watching that film. And part of it is the reason Bernard King motivating them, great performance. But also part of it is the way they're shooting it. And to shoot the fear, but also the hunger to do well. And they're not bloodthirsty. They're marching in to fight for what's right. And the way they're shooting it, I'm like, come the fuck on, man. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
And another one that I found interesting, just because of the weird camera angles that they use, the way they kind of shoot character in it, I could see a nomination for Kill Bill for cinematography because they do a lot of weird stuff with the camera to tell the story. That was also one where I was like, interesting not to see that one. Okay. But obviously that was the biggest travesty of justice that I've ever seen. To not get a cinematography Return of the King. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I would prefer Return of the King to win over Master and Commander. But I do understand why Master and Commander won, because that movie is gorgeous.
It is.
And it is, like, about as epic as you'll get in terms of, like, a naval seafaring movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other technical category I had written down was I actually had adapted screenplay for a nomination for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Does that count as an adapted screenplay? I think it's fine. I'm not arguing. Or would that count as original because it's not?
That's a weird thing.
It's not a book. It's not a play. It's a theme park ride.
Because yes, it's a weird thing because there's so many different variations of like based on a material on a different medium. Yeah. And I don't know if it would fall into that or not. So I was like, I'm just going to go with adapted because I, I honestly don't know what it would fall into.
Sure.
But yeah, like I said, I love that fucking movie.
It's a
I think
tremendous
that
movie.
movie got charm to spare.
Charm up the fucking wazoo.
Yeah.
Talk about it. We just talked about it with franchises in the year before. Talk about a movie that banked on its first movie and was
Yeah.
diminishing returns ever since. And I like
Yeah.
the continuation of that franchise. I love even the ones that everyone doesn't like. But still, it's clear that they're not as good as Curse of the Black Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, I have two more technical categories. How does
Okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean not get an original score nomination or win? Not win, but nomination.
I understand that one because when you go back and listen to Gladiator, they are very similar.
Okay. And then another one. No nod in makeup for X2 for Nightcrawler, and I think that's. I don't think X2.
Okay.
X2 is a really good movie. I don't think it's like Oscar Best Picture quality, but I think it's certainly a good movie. But the makeup done for Nightcrawler alone, I'm like, yeah, it's. I think that makeup category.
Yeah. So once again, they only had three.
Why?
It was only Lord of the Rings, Master and Commander, and Pirates. So no problems with the actual nominees.
No.
But it should be 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would go with that one. But I don't have any more technical categories. You know.
All right.
It seems almost greedy to argue more Lord of the Rings, but I think they even have a real argument for some other stuff.
So Big Six, director Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings.
No qualms.
Actor Sean Penn, Mystic River.
Thoughts?
Actress Charlize Theron for Monster. Supporting actor Tim Robbins for Mystic River, and supporting actress Renee Zellweger for Cold Mountain.
Never seen Mystic River. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I know of Cold Mountain. Never watched it.
Mystic River is like
it's a Clint Eastwood movie, right?
Yeah, it's one of those movies that you watch purely for performances. Like, I don't love the movie itself, but all the performances in it. Like, Kevin Bacon's in it as well. Marcia Gay Harden is also in that movie. All the performances in it are great, but the movie itself I don't love.
Okay.
Like, it's like, whatever. I take it or leave it. But yeah, Sean Penn is amazing in that movie.
Okay. At the very least for nominations, I think Viggo Mortensen or Elijah Wood have a real argument for at least being nominated in that category.
Yes. I wrote down Elijah Wood for a nomination.
Yeah.
And then I wrote down Viggo Mortensen a win for supporting actor.
I put Ian McKellen in that spot, but I could also see Viggo because to me, Return of the King, it's such an ensemble piece. I think is the reason no one got a nomination for Best Actor because I put Viggo and Elijah down because it kind of feels like concurrent. It feels like that movie's far more Aragorn, but yet we have all that stuff of Frodo. So that's why I'm a little. I don't know what to do with it, but if you can get away with it as a supporting actor, it kind of like falls in that Tom Hanks that we just talked about. Certainly, Viggo Mortensen deserves at very least a nomination for that.
Yeah, I think you could slide him into supporting.
That's why I put Ian McKellen because he's still great and he does so many different things in that.
And then the other change I had was supporting actress. I would have put Christina Ricci in Monster over Renee Zellweger. Nothing against Renee Zellweger. She's good in that movie. Not great. Movie overall is fine. A lot of people think it's boring, really.
Okay.
It's like a Civil War era. I don't even know what to call it. Civil War era. I can't even call it an epic because it's not an epic. It's like it's about Nicole Kidman and Renee Zellweger just challenged to run a farm on their own. Like
as their partners are away from
as
at
because
war.
Jude Law is at war. Yeah. It's
Huh. Interesting.
it's fine. It's a fine movie.
Okay.
And and then the other shout outs I had were Min Sik Choi in Old Boy, the Korean film,
Yep.
and then Sean Astin as supporting.
Yeah, I could really see Sean Astin supporting as well. I love Samwise Gamgee. Sam,
He's great in that movie.
outside of Gandalf, if you actually made me boil it down, Sam might be my favorite character in all of Lord of the Rings, outside of like little bit pieces. And a lot of that has to do with how I portray Sam because of Sean Astin's performance. He's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And such a tremendous performance. Where you just like, it's really easy as a young kid to just be like, why are you so devoted to this guy? Why do you keep doing this? But you then realize as you grow older how important Sam is. And the way Sean Astin portrays Sam is just a devoted friend to the end who will never give up on you. It's like glorious. So good.
Yep.
So good.
So, actual nominees for Best Picture. The winner, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
As it should.
Lost in Translation, Master and Commander, Mystic River, and Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit was another one that kind of just pops up out of nowhere.
I just rewatched it 4 months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
A lot better than I remember it.
Okay. So it's just it's another one of these in the string of this year, these 5 years where you're just kind of like they're not getting a lot of noms for anything. All of a sudden it's like Seabiscuit, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know who I replace. I could see an argument for Finding Nemo being put in Best Picture.
That's my change. I took out Mystic River and put in Finding Nemo.
I think Finding Nemo is the movie that really gets a lot of modern audiences prepared for this isn't a cartoon.
Yeah.
This is a movie. And just because it has cartoons, it's an animated feature, doesn't mean it's a silly throwaway movie.
Yeah, that's like the turning point for Pixar where they're like, okay, we're here to stay.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, they have Toy Story and Toy Story 2, and people are like, those are great. We love Toy Story. Bugs Life, it gets shit on for no reason, because Bugs Life's also a very good movie. But they're like, okay, fine. Finding Nemo comes out, and everyone goes, oh shit, they're real. Like, they can't be stopped. Pixar doesn't make bad movies.
Exactly.
Like, is Cars 2 the worst Pixar movie?
Probably, yeah.
Like, and yeah, so it's like, come on. I would have put Finding Nemo in the Best Picture category. In total, Return of the King wins 13 awards this year?
11.
11, I'm sorry.
They are nominated for 11, and they win 11.
Was it the first to ever sweep all the categories as nominated because there were other ones that they got to 11 but they were nominated for more?
So, All About Eve, Titanic. I want to say there's one more.
Isn't it Ben-Hur's in there?
Oh, Ben-Hur. They all got 14 nominations, but no one's ever won more than 11. And then Lord of the Rings were nominated for 11 and won 11. And, I mean, according to us, probably should have won more than 11.
I mean, according to us, they have a guaranteed win in cinematography. And they're not even nominated, so that's fucking horseshit.
Yeah.
So that's 12. Plus, you have 4 cases in the acting category that could at least give you a chance to get to 13 or 14. Now, with Mystic River, it sounds like it's so performance-based that probably not going to get those two.
Yeah.
You
But
just
you
said
should at
Sean.
least get
You just said
12.
Sean Penn was brilliant, but would you replace Sean Penn with Elijah Wood?
I would. No, the one I would change is Tim Robbins as supporting actor.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would say. I mean, it's hard to say like they deserve to be the most recognized movie of all time.
It's hard not to, though.
They deserve the awards they got. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Return of the King is such a well-made film.
Yeah.
There is not an ounce of fat on that motherfucker. Everything is very important.
What's funny is
even the shit that hits the cutting room floor is great, where you're just like, God damn, this is good.
Yeah. Somehow I have a memory of being really upset about Pirates of the Caribbean not winning for visual effects that year. And I would have been 9 years old.
So you're already an Oscar connoisseur.
Like, no, I remember just like mom and dad watching it first, and I must have been in for that one category or something. And Pirates of the Caribbean would have been the one movie I recognized.
Right. No, I remember at the time, I got slightly upset that Pirates didn't win for Best Song. But then I go back and I hear Annie Lennox sing Into the West. And I'm just
Actually,
like, nah, it's not possible. I'm like, Into the West needs to win. So I'm like, nah, no changes.
That's the one award that I would say maybe they don't deserve it, but also I would have to look at all the movies that came out that year, because a lot of times the Oscars don't nominate the best songs of the years.
Yeah. Well, we've already had a few of those. In our last episode. No Kiss from a Rose. Bullshit. Deserves a nom. So, yeah, Return of the King's so fucking good. So good. You'll be shocked. It's my favorite movie of 2003.
Mine as well.
With heavy consideration also to Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yep.
I know you love Love Actually. I am not a Love Actually fan, but I know you really like it.
I don't love it, but I enjoyed it.
And also another movie that I'm always very happy to come across. I really like The Last Samurai. I think The Last Samurai is a great film.
It's a good movie, yeah.
And it's just wrong time to be an epic.
Yeah, I mean, it got a couple of nominations. Not many. I think the most important nomination pretty sure Ken Watanabe got a nom.
I think he did as well.
So, and he deserved it, so.
Yeah. Again, good fun to come back and check these out.
Yeah, next episode we get to talk about one of the most controversial wins of all time.
One of or the?
One of.
Okay. Oh, I haven't watched that movie, so I've watched pieces of it and was not impressed. So
I've watched it twice. I will not be watching it a third.
Fair enough. But we're going to have a lot of fun talking about that in the next Oscars episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We're going to have a little bit more October content for you. Get a little bit back into the spooky vibes pretty soon. But I hope y'all enjoyed this show. It's always fun talking about it. Check us out on our socials. Stay in touch there. Head over to the Etsy shop. Find yourself some cool merch. And more importantly than anything, keep up to date so you can watch even more great movies. Go watch a great movie to enjoy yourself. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Oh!